Hey there, how are you doing today?
Oh, doing great. Ready to get into this one.
Awesome. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Grab your coffee, settle in, because today we are taking a massive 50-year leap into the future.
It is quite the journey today, for sure.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, imagine this. You perfectly execute a brilliant business strategy, like flawless. Your marketing is sharp, your product design is beautiful, social media engagement is just off the charts.
You did everything right by the modern playbook.
Exactly. But then your sales completely flatline, and you're left wondering why. Well, it's because you just built this stunning, high-tech digital billboard on a highway that has been permanently closed to traffic.
That's such a harsh reality for so many businesses right now.
Yeah.
We are really pulling back the curtain today on a structural approach to time and strategy.
Right. And today's information is proudly brought to you by Kodohomo magazine. We are breaking down this incredibly detailed article by Nyanko Ito and, exploring Kodohomo's core consulting philosophy.
It was all about cultural formation.
Yes. The mission today is to figure out how to design what they call a time allocation compass, looking 50 years into the future. And I promise you, we are keeping things simple, energetic, and completely free of that confusing corporate jargon.
No buzzwords today.
Let's be real, most corporate strategy sessions feel like people just throwing darts at a whiteboard blindfolded.
Well, I wouldn't say all of them are blindfolded, but they're definitely aiming at the wrong target.
Fair enough. So let's ground this right away with the scenario I hinted at in the intro. The article outlines a real-world consultation with a regional souvenir design company.
A very classic, established business model.
Right. For decades, they were the absolute go-to brand for local gifts. But recently, their revenue started shrinking. Now, they didn't just sit on their hands.
They took action?
They took massive action. They launched this trendy collaboration with a local steak brewery. They invested in high-end aesthetic photography, and they ran a really heavy targeted campaign on Instagram.
They did all the work that modern marketing tells you to do.
Exactly. Which is exactly when the panic sets in, right? Because they look at the flatlining sales and leadership just immediately assumes, oh, the new product is a failure, or the marketing agency messed up the ad spend.
But Kodohomi's diagnosis steps in here and points to something much deeper. The quality of those Instagram posts, it wasn't the issue at all.
Wait, really? Because usually that's the first thing you blame.
Oh, for sure. But the issue was actually a symptom of autopilot management. They were relying on old momentum. They were essentially applying a shiny new coat of paint to a fundamentally broken distribution machine.
The article calls this a severed information supply chain. And I have to admit, when I first read that, I was a bit skeptical.
Oh, so.
Well, I mean, if a company is reaching hundreds of thousands of targeted users on Instagram, how is their information supply chain severed? Isn't a smartphone like the ultimate modern supply chain?
It is a pipeline for awareness, definitely.
Yeah.
But awareness does not automatically equal physical distribution or purchase behavior, especially for something like a regional souvenir.
Oh, okay. Right.
The actual historical pipeline for this specific company relied really heavily on traditional business trips. People buying gifts at the train station or the airport to bring back to the office.
In post-2020, that specific type of routine business trip just plummeted.
Exactly. So an Instagram like doesn't magically print the train ticket.
Right. A like is just a like.
Precisely. They engineered a brilliant digital campaign, but the physical pathway that converted that awareness into an actual transaction, it had just vanished.
The highway is closed.
The highway is closed. The old ways of getting information to consumers, relying on foot traffic in hotel lobbies or transit hubs, they simply don't connect to modern behavioral realities anymore.
So if the highway is closed, how do you find out where the traffic actually went? Because clearly tweaking the Instagram algorithm isn't going to fix a lack of foot traffic.
To find the new highway, you have to zoom out significantly.
Okay, how far out are we talking?
You have to stop looking at quarterly returns and start looking at the massive timeline of cultural formation. This is the absolute bedrock of Kodohomo's consulting philosophy.
So getting out of the daily weeds.
Right. To stop relying on these stopgap measures, you have to realize society doesn't just change its habits overnight because a new app drops.
Right. Yeah, it takes time.
It takes a predictable, massive amount of time for new core values to actually take root and change consumer behavior in the market.
The text introduces this thing called the 30-20 rule to explain this, and it essentially states that true cultural change operates on a 50-year cycle.
Yeah.
Walk us through the mechanics of that timeline, because when I read it, it completely reframed how I look at the market.
Yeah, that's powerful. So let's break it down. The foundational phase takes 30 years.
30 years just for the foundation. That feels like forever.
It does, but think about the sheer logistics of human development. A new set of values is introduced into, say, the public education system. A generation literally has to be born into that new paradigm. They have to grow up, graduate into the workforce, and finally acquire enough disposable income to actually influence market trends.
Oh, wow. So you're waiting for them to literally grow up and get paychecks.
Exactly. That biological and economic process, it takes 3 decades to actually take root.
Okay, so 30 years to establish the new normal. But, I mean, society doesn't just neatly flip a switch at year 30.
No, not at all. Because the older generations are still there.
Right.
The people who built their wealth and established their traditional business practices, their shoshukan as it's called, under the old rules, they don't just vanish. They still hold significant economic and organizational power.
So you have the old rules and the new rules existing at the same time.
Exactly. So following that 30-year formation, you enter a highly volatile 20-year overlap period.
This is the friction phase.
Yes, tons of friction.
Yeah.
You have the established guard trying to maintain their legacy systems,
Yeah.
and the new guard trying to force the culture they were educated in.
They are basically living in the same corporate house, just fighting over the thermostat.
That is a perfect analogy. That fight is exactly what defines the 20-year overlap. So you have 30 years of quiet formation, followed by 20 years of loud, messy integration.
And together that creates the 50-year cycle, the minimum time frame required for society's premises to just completely renew.
You got it. And the article points to a very specific milestone for all of us, the year 2020.
Right, 2020.
That year marked the beginning of our current 20-year messy transition period.
Because the disruption of 2020 wasn't just like a temporary health crisis.
No, it acted as the catalyst. It forced the 30 years of underlying digital and remote work education to violently clash with traditional in-office business customs.
So basically from 2020 to 2040, we are just in the thick of the mess.
We are right in the middle of it.
And, you know, this puts traditional consulting into a really harsh perspective for me. You have these firms coming in to look at a massive 50-year tectonic shift in human behavior, and their solution is what? A standard 3 to 5 year midterm plan.
Right, focused on just optimizing current workflows.
Uh-huh.
It's exactly why so many companies fail right now.
They're reacting to surface-level weather changes while completely ignoring climate change.
That's exactly it. A standard 3-year operational plan trying to solve a 50-year cultural shift is trying to fix structural foundation damage by, rearranging the living room furniture.
Right. The room looks a little nicer for a quarter or two, but
Yeah.
the house is literally sinking.
Exactly.
Okay, so 50 years is a massive concept. If I'm a CEO, or even just managing a small team, I can't wait until 2070 to see if my strategy worked, right?
No, obviously not.
I need a timeline that a human manager can actually use. So once you understand the 50-year macro view, how do you actually apply it?
That is where Kodo Homo scales the philosophy down into a 10-year actionable cycle, specifically using what they call the 3-3-4 rule.
Okay, the 3-3-4 rule. Break that down for us.
So the biggest trap managers fall into is evaluating every single year equally. They expect this linear year-over-year growth.
Which never happens.
Right, because cultural adoption isn't linear. So we have to weight the time differently over a decade. The first 3 years are for cultivating the foundation.
Like putting the plumbing into a new house.
Exactly. It's expensive, invisible work. You are building the internal systems, training the staff, aligning your resources with the new 50-year reality.
And I'm guessing you're not seeing a ton of profit here.
You might not be explicitly losing money, but you certainly aren't seeing explosive returns. If you evaluate success purely on profit during years 1 to 3, you will absolutely abandon the strategy prematurely.
Right, because nobody buys a house just to stare at the pipes. But without them, the house doesn't function.
Perfect way to look at it.
Okay, so the plumbing is in. What happens in the next 3-year block?
Years 4 through 6 are where you grow the seeds of change. You build the visible structure on top of that foundation. Momentum builds.
You actually start seeing the results.
Yes. And this brings us to a critical evaluation point. The major evaluation point for success only happens at the end of year 6.
The article mentions replacing jargon like KPI or KGI with what it calls the ultimate scorecard.
Right. Your scorecard at the end of year 6 isn't just a financial check. You are evaluating whether the infrastructure you build in the first 3 years has successfully integrated with the shifting culture.
Judging it any earlier would be like pulling a plant out of the dirt to see if the roots are growing.
You have to let the full 6-year cycle complete.
Let's apply this directly back to our souvenir shop.
Yeah.
If they had used the 3-3-4 rule, what would their first 3 years have looked like compared to just launching an Instagram campaign?
Instead of immediately spending on a digital billboard, their years 1 through 3 would involve heavy research into where the business travelers actually went.
Okay.
Maybe they discover their demographic is now working in suburban remote hubs. So their foundational phase would be establishing partnerships with residential subscription bosses or local community centers.
Oh, wow. So it's slow, unglamorous partnership building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by year 6, their ultimate scorecard determines if that new residential distribution network is actually replacing the lost train station revenue.
That makes complete sense. And then the final 4 years of the decade.
Years 7 through 10 are an adjustment period. You are harvesting the rewards, but you're simultaneously preparing to overlap with your next decade's foundational phase.
But to build that plumbing in the first 3 years, you need to know where the water is actually going to flow in the future.
Yes, you need a map.
Right. And the article references something called the Illustrated Future Map, which predicts technology and behavioral motives from 2025 to 2035.
It does.
I have to play the skeptic for a second, though. Whenever I hear future map, I instantly picture some tech guru on a stage making these wild guesses about flying cars and virtual reality. How credible is this map?
It is a very necessary skepticism. But Coda Home's future map is highly reliable, precisely because it is not just a list of flashy tech trends.
Okay, so it's not predicting the next iPhone.
No. Anyone can guess that smartphones will get faster. This map is grounded in the historical cultural cycles we just discussed. It focuses on human behavioral motives.
So it's less about the technology itself and more about the psychological driver behind why we would even want it in the first place.
Exactly. Technology is merely the tool that fills a behavioral gap. By studying the 50-year cultural shift, you can accurately predict what human beings will value in 2030.
Like, say, hyper-localized community connection.
Or decentralized healthcare. Right. Once you map the motive, you can accurately predict which types of technologies will gain traction to serve that motive.
And which ones will just fail because they don't align with the culture.
Exactly. It serves as a structural guide to navigate the 3-3-4 cycle safely. It's not a crystal ball.
Okay, so you figure out what the culture will value, and the tech just builds the bridge to get there. But this brings up a massive operational question for me.
What then?
We have the 50-year macro climate. We have the 10-year 3-3-4 cycle. Behavioral motive mapping. Who is supposed to actually manage all of this? Because if I'm managing a business, I barely have time to clear my inbox, right?
Oh, for sure.
Let alone map out the cultural zeitgeist of 2035.
And that reality leads to one of the most critical warnings in the text. It involves this corporate habit known as maroonage.
Maroonage. That translates to, like, hole throwing. Yeah.
Yes, complete outsourcing. It is the dangerous habit companies have developed of blindly throwing all their strategic thinking and decision-making over the fence to outside agencies or think tanks.
Just here's a bag of money, go fix my future while I focus on this quarter's operations.
Exactly. You need to stop doing that.
But wait, didn't we just spend the last 10 minutes explaining why we need experts to understand the 50-year climate? Are we supposed to do all that macro research internally now?
Not at all. The key here is a strict separation of duties. You absolutely should use experts, think tanks, resources like Coda Homu for the macro data.
Okay, phew.
You are essentially renting their expertise for the 50-year trends and the 10-year forecasts. That is vital data collection.
So I rent the map from the cartographer.
Exactly. But taking that massive map and breaking the 3-year foundational chunks down into a 1-year day-to-day tactical battle plan,
Right.
deciding exactly where to allocate your specific budget next Tuesday. That is the absolute non-negotiable responsibility of the CEO and internal management.
You cannot outsource the steering wheel.
You cannot outsource the steering wheel.
I completely agree with that in principle, but, the article openly acknowledges a very relatable problem here.
The cognitive overload.
Yes, brain fry. If you are a manager trying to plan 1-year tactics while considering a 50-year future and a 10-year cycle, your brain is going to fry.
It is incredibly taxing. You are asking a human brain to process multiple conflicting dimensions of time and risks simultaneously.
And if you try to hold all of that in your head, you're just going to default back to autopilot management to survive the day.
Exactly. And this is where the author introduces a very modern specific solution, the AI painkiller.
Right, the AI painkiller. But let's get granular here, because a lot of people just hear use AI and think, oh, I'll ask a chatbot to write my marketing copy.
Right, it's not that.
How exactly does an AI simulate business logic to relieve this massive cognitive load?
You aren't asking the AI to invent your strategy. You are using it to carry the computational burden of your logic.
Okay, how?
The source specifically recommends using a robust paid plan of Google Gemini.
Wait, specifically a paid plan of Gemini. Why not just the free stuff?
Because you need highly reliable simulations. Free tools often lack the deep reasoning required, and they're prone to hallucinating facts. You need a powerful model.
Okay, so what am I actually typing into Gemini to make this work?
You input your constraints and ask it to stress test your logic. You sit down with the AI and prompt it, like, here is our agreed upon 50-year macro assumption about decentralized living.
Yeah.
Here is our 3-year foundational goal to build a residential distribution network, and here's my tactical plan for year 1. which includes a $50,000 budget.
Got it.
Then you say, simulate the next 12 months based on these inputs. Where are the logical gaps? At what point do I run out of capital? What external variables am I ignoring?
Oh, wow. Okay, so you are using it as an interactive stress test. You aren't giving up the steering wheel at all.
Not one bit.
You are just using the AI as this incredibly advanced calculator that spots the potholes you might have missed because you were too busy looking at the 50-year horizon.
Precisely. It disperses the cognitive load. The AI processes the multi-layered variables and flags the risks, which frees your human brain to do what it does best.
Make the final judgment call.
Exactly.
Let me synthesize all of this because this really is the ultimate playbook for navigating the modern era.
Let's hear it.
You rent the 50-year macro vision from the experts. You use high-end AI as your heavy lifting calculator to stress test your daily tactics. But you, the human, you retain absolute ownership of the steering wheel for those one-year decisions.
That specific combination is the only viable way to escape autopilot management. It allows you to operate in the present day without building billboards on closed highways.
It really shifts the perspective. You aren't just a victim of changing times, and you don't have to be paralyzed by the sheer volume of future forecasting. You just need a better compass.
And that takes us right back to the beginning. The souvenir shop didn't lack effort, right?
Right, they worked hard.
They just lacked a compass that accounted for the climate. Once you understand the structure of time, the 50-year cycle, the 3-3-4 rule, you stop reacting and you start actually building.
This has been incredibly clarifying. I mean, as we wrap up this massive journey through time, we want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to chew on today.
Yeah, think back to that 30-year rule we discussed earlier.
The biological timeline.
Right. It takes 30 years for a new culture to firmly establish itself through education and workforce entry. If that timeline holds true, what quiet, seemingly insignificant cultural seed is being planted right now, today in 2026, that will completely dominate the way we live and buy in the year 2056?
Oh, man. That is a wild thought. Something happening right now, maybe a minor shift in how elementary kids are interacting with tech or some niche community behavior we are totally ignoring, that is going to be the absolute center of the global market in 30 years.
It really makes you look at the world differently.
I am going to be obsessing over that question all day. Listen, if you enjoyed this deep dive and found some value in mapping out the future with us, do us a huge favor.
Please do.
Subscribe to the channel, follow the podcast, and leave us a high rating. It tells the algorithms that we are doing something right and helps us keep unpacking these incredible topics for you.
Your engagement really is the metric that matters most to us.
Absolutely. And hey, if you are looking to map out your own 50-year compass and you really want to escape that autopilot mode, be sure to check out Kotohomu. They are the cartographers plotting the course, and their structural approach is just on another level.
It has been an absolute pleasure exploring this framework with you today.
Always a blast. Keep your eyes on the long-term horizon, keep both hands firmly on that steering wheel, and we will catch you on the next deep dive. Have an amazing day.